Mercedes, it's great to see you. The last time I saw you and your sister was in Halifax, and there was a big reason why you were walking the red carpet and why you were there. What was the reason for the both of you being there?
We were nominated for Alternative Album of the Year.
How did that feel? First off, when you first found out you got the nomination, but actually being there, being honored, seeing all those stars there, being told to get on the bus because you had to head over to the Scotiabank Arena. I mean, having the star status, what did that feel like?
Wow, I mean it was a whirlwind. It was really cool. We don't get to do stuff like that all that often, like red carpets, and so it a little bit was surreal and kind of felt a bit like a fantasy. But you were there. You experienced the chaos of it too. So it was this crazy fun weekend.
It was insane. But you know what? I thought they did a great job. Congratulations on the nomination. I know there's going to be more nominations in the future and wins. So much is going on with the both of you because as we also speak, Canadian Music Week is coming up very soon in June, and you guys are part of this, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We got to do a showcase, but it's also billed as like our EP release at the same time, which is really cool. So it was a different CMW experience than we've had before because we got to choose the bands that we're playing with. So we handpicked Tallies and Seventh Dose. So it's cool because it's a CMW show, but it really does feel like we're just throwing a show and CMW are kind of just helping us with it, which is great. And it's at the Velvet, which is one of my favorite venues in Toronto too. So
So I get to say this. How does it feel being the big shots? How does it feel being stars? How does it feel knowing that you guys are on Wikipedia and they've got info on you? Like, this is crazy.
oh, that's so kind of. I mean, I honestly, I don't know if I would say that we're like big shots or anything. And but it does feel good to have like validation from the stuff that we get to do and stuff like the Junos and CMW. It's a recognition from the Canadian music scene that we're doing something right. So that feels really cool. But to be honest, it's like even if we didn't have that, we would still be doing what we're doing. We just love doing it. And we have a home studio. We do it all ourselves. So it's kind of just like part of our lives in a big way. It's just like our passion.
That weekend was big for women. You had Nelly Furtado, who was hosting. You
Mhm.
had Anne Murray make a surprise appearance that just blew everybody away. The
Yeah.
fact that Tegan and Sarah were there too, being honored and, voicing their voices, who I loved. And I had not seen them in 15 years. So it was great for me to get a chance to see them. And then, of course, the Beaches who
Yeah.
won two awards, the big one, Group of the Year, breaking the record of the Arkells, who were probably as proud to see them do that. And then you got you guys here with the nomination. How does it feel knowing that you followed along this kind of a path? Because there were other female winners on that weekend, and also a lot of female nominees too.
You're right. It's awesome to see the representation and recognition. It's really encouraging because I think representation is so important. Like, it's really inspiring to see how the industry and the scene has changed even from like 10 years ago. And I think it's important because people watching, like if there's little girls, in some small town in Canada somewhere, and they're watching the Junos and they see that kind of success from women and that women creating art and being celebrated for it, it's like maybe they will be like, oh, I can do it too. They see themselves in it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm an artist today, was because of the artists that I looked up to when I was younger. So it feels cool to be a part of that. And it kind of, brings a tear to your eye to think about those people that are hopefully the next generation of artists that are being inspired by that.
Well, let's talk about that because representing the six, Toronto, that's what you guys are all about. What was it like growing up, the both of you together? Because you guys are twins, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Yeah.
so who actually growing up said to the other that, I really want to do music?
To be honest, like I honestly can't remember which one of us like had the idea. It's so weird. Like I think a lot of that stuff kind of happens simultaneously when you're with someone who is like on the same page as you creatively in so many ways, and my twin to boot. We're in sync on so many things. um so I feel really lucky to have that sort of creative partnership with someone who knows me so well and I know them so well. Growing up, it was like we kind of grew up in a household where we were encouraged a lot. Like I think that's so important when you're a kid. If you show an interest in something, to have that interest be fostered and encouraged. It's like, oh yeah, you could do that. And I think my parents saw that Phoenix and I were interested in music, and so they supported us. They put us in music lessons early on, like as soon as they saw that interest. And I can't thank them enough for that, because sometimes, the difference between an artist that changes the world and someone who has like said no to their dreams is just encouragement from other people. So yeah, I would say that we grew up in a very supportive household when it came to making art, and we've always kind of had that, which is nice.
What was it like trying to get out there in the bar scene, especially because you guys were getting in at a tough time because bars are slowly starting to close, and
Hmm.
just trying to get that spot to perform and do your art wasn't easy. What was that like for y'all, especially being young also?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like when we started out in bands, we were like playing bars when we were like 16 or 15 even. So a lot of the bars wouldn't let us in. Like we kind of had this agreement that it's like you get in, you load on stage, you play, and then immediately you leave. Uh, so there's been times like I remember being escorted off the stage by security, and or like there was a time when we were like literally playing a show, but they didn't know what to do with us, so they basically locked us in the basement of this venue, uh, with the crates of alcohol, funnily enough. So, but you know what? I look back on those times very fondly because it is a finite time. I'm 30 now, so that time is long behind me, and it makes for a great story and a great experience when you're young, just to cut your teeth in that scene. And I'm grateful to the bars that did let us play, because a lot of them were just like, absolutely no way.
Yeah, no,
So,
amen, amen to that. But you guys were in a band before deciding to be a
yeah.
duo. Why did you both decide, okay, it's time for us to go out on our own and not stick with the band?
Well, we played in a few bands over the years. One specifically, we like Courage, My Love, our old band, we played in for like 10 years. So, I, I thought that was going to be my baby for like my life. But things happen. You change as an artist. You're constantly evolving and growing and challenging yourself. And also situations change. Like we decided that we didn't want to do the whole major label thing anymore. We got a little bit disenfranchised by that part of the music industry in some ways. And so it felt really good to start over on our own terms. We're not signed to a major anymore. We're indie, and that's what works for us, in terms of just having full creative control over things, and really just like if we want to release something, we put it out when we want to put it out, and that's kind of what works for us. It's like rewarding creatively. and learning the skills to record ourselves. And you know, at this point in my career, it's a very empowering thing to say that we do it all ourselves. And um, yeah, nothing really holds us back from creating what we want to create. So I don't know. I would say it's like probably the best case scenario for us at this point.
What you guys were in the alternative category.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I hear that word alternative over the years, it frustrates me because it's almost as if because the charts can't, label you guys a certain type of music, they use the word alternative. What would you call your music
Mhm.
exactly? Would you call it rock? Would you call it punk? Would you call it, grunge? What would you call it?
That's such a good question, and I agree. It's such a broad, umbrella to be in with alternative. It's sort of vague, but that's kind of what I like about it at the same time, because I wouldn't really know how to define our music. Like I think Softcult is influenced by shoegaze of the 90s, right? And grunge, Riot Girl punk, uh
Yes.
but it's a lot of or ambient, dream pop. There's a lot going on in there, so I understand it is kind of hard to define. We now have started calling ourselves Riot Gaze, so it's like Riot Girl instead of Riot Girl punk, it's like Riot Girl shoegaze.
I like that. I love that. Now, do you guys remember, or do you remember when we met, and where, and why? If you could tell that story.
I mean, most recently, I feel like we've met a few times throughout the years, but most recently, the memory is you introducing us at Elma Combo, and it was the most epic thing ever because it was one of our first ever shows. And you introduced us like you were introducing like, a prize fighter or something. We walk on stage, we feel like these badasses, and then we open with the most like gentle song of all time. It was so fun, man. Like you definitely made it an experience.
I was so glad to do that. I was glad to do it for everybody. But the thing is, my thing about being with the Lemon stage at that time and Lemon Entertainment was, and they're still doing it across the country, is giving young artists like yourselves a platform to perform. And as much as you want to say it was soft, and you guys tore that stage up. I mean, the audience loved what you folks were doing, which was why when I heard about the nomination and seeing you guys on the red carpet, I was so happy for you. Talk about the EP that you were nominated for and how did that represent you guys when it was released?
That's so the EP is from last year
Mhm.
and it's called See You in the Dark. Um it's basically an EP that we wrote about accountability and the overarching theme, even though a lot of the songs have different subject matter, is just like that we need to not be afraid to be honest with ourselves and with others, hold ourselves accountable, and try and change for the better. That's kind of the main theme. And I think it's relatable for a lot of people and certainly something that we should just be less afraid to talk about, that we all have flaws, but we can seek redemption in a lot of ways by trying to change things for the better. Uh, and yeah, we recorded it in our home studio. We toured it like a lot last year and this year. So this is a really nice kind of like closing of the book and on to the next chapter. Having the nomination is a nice like kind of end to that record cycle.
I'm curious, was that written during COVID?
Some of the songs probably were because that's our third EP. So we've released a lot. Like certainly the first two were written and recorded in COVID times. And then I think some of See You in the Dark was as well, but it was right when things were starting to lift and we were getting out there and playing shows more and it was kind of at the tail end, I think, when we were in the studio with that one.
I gotta ask though, because of course I was in the press room. What was it like to sit on opening night Junos when your category was being announced? What was it like to sit at that table with all of these stars and artists walking by you, chatting, congratulating? You know, you're seeing Maestro Fresh West there, who was honored all weekend long. What was that experience like? From going from what we talked about, not being locked into, you know, bars, basements, to having that kind of experience, going from one to the extreme other.
Oh, you know, it's really cool to be let in to that part of the industry and like accepted, I guess, because it does feel like, I mean, that night there were so many artists from across Canada, all different genres, spanning different ages and, levels of acclaim and success. And I think I was really inspired because that is what the point of the Junos is at the end of the day. It is like appreciating Canadian artists. And as Canadians, inherently, we know what it is to kind of persevere and overcome, like break through glass ceilings. We have to try even harder, I'd say, than a lot of artists in, neighboring us in the United States, like just to break out and sort of have any sort of recognition or success internationally. So that's what I remember thinking, like looking around the room, that everyone there in their own way has done that and poured their blood, sweat, and tears into their creations. And I was really inspired also by the diversity I saw. So, like,
Yeah.
being recognized on that platform is sort of a message to me that it's like Canada has this rich well of diverse artists that are they deserve the spotlight. So to be a part of that was cool. Also, we had a table with our managers, our the guys that play in our live band, and Phoenix's partner came out, and my parents came out. So it was like a big family affair, all of us together.
You realize no matter what happens in the future, I mean, it could change up a little bit, but no matter what, when you are introduced, it is Juno Award nominee. Nobody can take that
Right.
away from you. When I get a chance to introduce you guys, hopefully again, maybe at CMW, wink, wink. Um, you guys will always be known as Juno nominees. That's got to be
Right.
cool.
It is cool because, like, honestly, sometimes I forget, right? Like, it was not even that long ago, but it is an accomplishment, and it's
Yeah,
like I am proud of it. And it's something that's like once you're part, it almost feels like you're part of this family or you're part of this like roster of artists that have had that honor. And um, it's like they say, it's an honor to be nominated.
absolutely. I think you guys are supposed to get like you're supposed to get something later on because you don't get the award, but you get some kind of plaque or something that says, hey, you're a nominee, so you can hang that up. So you have that for the rest of your lives. Yeah.
We'll get a certificate, probably like
Big.
in a frame. And it's,
Yeah.
that's going right in the studio. I'm gonna look at it every day.
I love it. Now, something else, as you just mentioned, studio, CMW, all these things, an upcoming EP. What is going on with this? What is it going to sound like? Can we announce a name or anything? And can we actually announce a release date?
Yeah, it's been announced, which is really cool. It's called Heaven. Um, there's a few songs out already, but the full thing comes out on May 24th. Uh, and again, it's a similar story, to all our EPs. We recorded it ourselves, but it's fun to do that kind of stuff from a home studio because there isn't that sense of being perceived yet. So everything I feel like that we do, it kind of starts from this really safe place in the creation process of like, no one might hear this, it might never make it past today in the studio, but it's a great environment for being able to push yourself creatively And that's what we did on the new EP. I feel like we really pushed ourselves musically, like as musicians, as artists, and I'm proud of it. You know, I can't wait for everyone to hear what we got.
And also, CMW, when is Velvet Underground happening? Do we know?
That's on June 7th.
7th.
So it's not immediately on the day of the EP release, but it's pretty soon after, and we'll be playing a lot of new songs.
Amazing. Before we wrap this up, um, what advice do you have for those young ladies who are picking up that guitar that's too big for them and they're trying to strum it, or they're on a keyboard that again is too big for them, or maybe they're playing a flute? They're playing whatever instrument that they want or they seem to be attracted
Right.
to. What advice can you give them for the future to hopefully walk in the same
Mhm.
footsteps as you both have?
Um, I would say keep going, honestly. Like, it is difficult being a woman in those spaces, like going to the studio and feeling like your ideas are kind of getting dismissed, or going and playing in venues and you don't see anyone else that looks like you there. Um, so it's sometimes in those situations, it can be easy to feel small and like you want to shrink, but definitely just keep going, take up space, celebrate your otherness and also your talent. Like, don't let anyone tell you that just because you're a girl that you can't play with the guys. You totally can. And what's more, it's important that you do, so that your art can be heard and seen by other people, but also for the other women out there who are questioning if they belong in those spaces. Like, you are kind of proof to them that they do, or that we do. So yeah, I'd say just kind of keep going. And if you do experience any sort of, ignorance along the way, just use it as motivation to keep going, because it's proof that you're doing something right.
And you guys are definitely proof enough. Congratulations on the nomination. Congratulations on the success. Looking forward to seeing you guys at CMW. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to check my schedule. I'm going to make sure I can do everything I can to be down there for the show. Like I said, if you need somebody to introduce you, wink, wink, just let me
Ah,
know. And I can pop up there and do it for you guys. Either way, so happy for the both of you. Congratulations.
thank you. Hell yeah, brother. That will be awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you there too.